Hi, friends. Good to have you back. Welcome to yet another edition of TextKonnect, a podcast of the Textile series of exhibitions by SEMS Global. Today, I'm in Sri Lanka and I'm sitting with Yohan Lawrence, Secretary General of JAAF, that is the Joint Apparel Association Forum of Sri Lanka. And we are in this beautiful, newly built Cinnamon Life, uh, what is that? City of Dreams.
Cinnamon Life at City of Dreams.
Yeah, Cinnamon Live at City of Dreams. It's wonderful that they allowed us to host this podcast over here. And we are here to discuss about the Sri Lankan industry with Johan. Johan has been a long-time friend. And let's get started, I guess.
Sure. So welcome and thank you. Welcome to Sri Lanka and thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. Thank you. It's a
Thank you
pleasure
for
to be
asking.
here. Always a pleasure. So, as we were discussing the other day about your export performance, where are you headed? Like, what do you think about your export performance?
So if you look at the last sort of, we take a period kind of started pre-COVID because I think that was really our best years was kind of pre-COVID. And I think in terms of trying to work out a recovery, we have to go back to pre-COVID levels. So in pre-COVID times, we were around $5.3 billion. And then it fell during COVID. And then immediately in the aftermath, as the world recovered from COVID, things picked up. And we had a sort of unusual boom year, 2022, where we went up to about 5.6 billion. And really, this was a time when I think the industry was generally a little over optimistic. We'd come out of COVID, everybody expected life to return to full. And there was probably an over enthusiastic buying, which actually then meant that sort of 2023, we went things started slipping backwards. So 2024, we ended the year just over the 5 billion mark. So in terms of bringing us back to pre-COVID 2019, we've still got a little way to go. But I think it's leveled out. So I think we're now in an era where we are past all of the sort of ups and downs and the uncertainties of the world. So right now, Sri Lanka is set, I think, to grow. We do have some limitations. We have physical space limitation, water. I don't know that we can grow exponentially, but we can certainly push to start growing at a slightly higher rate than we have over the last few years, and to bring us back to 5.5, 6 billion as soon as we can.
What are your strategies or what are you planning for export diversification?
So I think a large part of trying to get big increase in what we do is we're going to have to change something. If we keep doing what we're doing all these years, we're going to get the same result. So a few of the things that JAAF has been lobbying for, and one of our main asks is around market access. So right now, Sri Lanka has access to the EU and the UK under their GSP DCTS schemes. But beyond that, we don't really have any preferential market access. And I need to clarify that when we say preferential, it's really to bring us on par with our competitors. So our competitors, countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam, have much better trading arrangements. So our ask of the government is that we start looking particularly at developing some form of trading arrangement with countries in this part of the world that can look at being good hosts for Sri Lanka.
But you have FTAs. Now you recently have a new FTA with Thailand.
I think the Thailand one, Sarah, the point is that, it's not a huge market for apparel. It's got a big industry in Thailand. Where it will work is in terms of branded apparel, but we need to look at markets like Korea, New Zealand, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, markets which we feel have the potential to really grow in terms of the products that we're offering. Thailand, we don't see a huge benefit. It's not a big market. It's not a big, yes, you've got a lot of tourists who buy branded product, but the volume is the benefits really small. I think it's about making those trading arrangements with strategic partners who can actually support the long-term growth of the apparel industry.
Now with the new, I always discuss this with whoever I speak to. With the new geopolitical dynamics, tariffs on China, Bangladesh has stepped out of the LDC, which means Europe has tariffs on Bangladesh. I think it's by next year or something. How would that benefit Sri Lanka? What do you think?
So I think the thing about Bangladesh and the EU is that I believe that they've managed to negotiate a fairly lengthy exit. So I don't think
Yeah.
they will actually come out of the schemes until 2027 or maybe even
2028.
2028, which is a long
2
time.
years, yeah.
A long time. And they've been
Right.
very, Bangladesh has been very proactive in terms of negotiating those market access pieces. Obviously, when they do come out of it, they'll then compete on the same basis as Sri Lanka. So there is potential. But of course, by that point, Sri Lanka could well have migrated out of the GSP Plus scheme. As Sri Lanka's economy picks up and as the growth goes, there will be a point at which point Sri Lanka will have to exit the GSP Plus scheme because of our own GDP levels. So I think that's and certainly by 2028, if we're not at that level, we'll be a lot closer to it. So in a sense, our ask, particularly again in terms of the EU and the UK, is to say, look, can we look at doing something that is more country-driven FTAs directly with those markets rather than rely on GSP? Because GSP scheme, we will graduate out of it. It's a matter of time till that happens. So yes, we have a window for the next probably 2-3 years within which we can look to maximize what we do. But at some point in the not too distant future, there is the risk of losing that. And of course, the other issue related to that is obviously the GSP scheme comes to an end in 2027, if not earlier. And when the new scheme comes out, we'll have to make sure that Sri Lanka is ready to apply for that. So these are all things that are going on in the background. It's obviously in our interest to make sure that when the scheme comes out, we can apply, we have done the homework, and we've done the groundwork. So that's where we are right now.
I heard you, if I heard you correctly, when I talked about export diversification, I heard the Far East from you. I did not hear Latin America.
So we did look at Latin America. Again, I think duty structures there don't favor Sri Lanka. And I think it's also about finding markets that, Sri Lanka apparel's generally in the higher value end market. So you're looking for markets that have that ability to spend high and the higher value added apparel. I think Latin America, from the work we've done on it, which is a few years ago, there was a lot of manufacturing in the region. The cost of getting garments to there is quite high. You have the duty components as well. So we've never really seen Latin America as an area for growth. I think the countries that we think show the greatest potential, apart from our neighbor India, which is just up the road, is the other countries that I'd mentioned. I think those are markets that we feel if we could get a foothold in, the market's mature enough to look at the type of product that we're doing out of Sri Lanka.
Understood. Yeah. I had a word, I met, in fact, your ADB, Export Development Board Chairman, the other day. And we had a very in-depth conversation about export and market diversification for Sri Lanka. Let's hear what he had to say.
Sri Lanka apparel industry stand as a pillar of excellence, contributing 40% from our merchandising exports, with an ambitious target of 8 billion export revenue by 2030. The Sri Lanka Export Development Board is spearheading initiatives to drive this sector forward. The apex government body, the Export Development Board, is the premier organization promoting and developing export sector in Sri Lanka under the Ministry of Industries and Entrepreneur Development, is committed to shaping the future of Sri Lankan apparel exports. To expand global footprints, Export Development Board in collaboration with the industry partners launched the Source Sri Lanka Textile and Apparel Roadshow in 2024 in UK. The following its success, we will organize it in 2025 as well and expected to expand this roadshow into Japan and the German, ensuring Sri Lanka apparel reach the new markets. Sri Lanka is recognized globally for ethical and sustainable apparel manufacturing. To further this commitment, Export Development Board is partnership with Swiss government in implementing the second phase of global program on textile and clothing from 2024-2027 with an aim of empowering small medium sector in the textile and clothing industry by enhancing operational efficiency, environmental sustainability and market expansion opportunities. This program also provides knowledge on new sustainability tools such as circular textile to the Sri Lanka apparel industry. To foster investment and innovations, the Export Development Board will facilitate in connecting Sri Lankan apparel manufacturers with international buyers, investors, and traders, creating new growth avenue. Simultaneously, the re-establishment of Export Development Council of Ministers to ensure robust policy framework driving export success. Empowering small medium entrepreneurs is key to inclusive growth. Through Free Trade Export Excellence Program, the Export Development Board provides training, financial assistance, and advisory support, enabling small medium business to access global market. Trade exhibition play a crucial role in enhancing Sri Lankan apparel global visibility in the apparel sector. As well as we collaborate with the international trade show organizers such as SEMS Global to host local exhibition, strengthening framework integrations of our apparel value chain with innovations, sustainability, and global expansion as our pillars. The Sri Lanka Export Development Board is committed to ensuring that Sri Lanka's apparel sector achieves its ambitious target, securing its place as a leader in the global fashion industry. Thank you.
Yeah, so he said about export diversification and that they are ready to support your associations, JAAF, and and helping you guys out to diversify into other markets than your regular,
Traditional
partners,
markets,
traditional market partners. Yeah, so that's good. What about? I think at one point of time I had seen you had a very good campaign, Garments Without Guilt,
Yeah.
and that really worked well around the world. And as far as the ethical manufacturing is concerned, sustainability initiatives, what are your plans, further plans to push it forward? Because everybody's looking to it now.
Yeah, so you're right. I think Governments Without Guilt ran its program and it delivered in at that time. It was focused on the employee side of it. I think on that side, the world has now moved quite significantly. I think the individual country, there's now an acceptance of a certain level. But now, as you rightly said, we're now going beyond that into particularly environmental sustainability. And this is an area that we feel Sri Lanka has a significant advantage over some of our competitor countries because a number of our bigger manufacturing facilities here have all embraced this. We have companies who have signed up, made even SBTi commitments. They've even made public their disclosures on energy footprints, what they're going to do about it. We work very closely with the government on this. And we see this as a space that Sri Lanka can play to its strengths. I think the challenge is in this world trying to define what you mean, or what are the indicators of sustainability. And some of the challenges that we have is that a number of our factories have taken plucked the low-hanging fruit many years ago. So if you look at the incremental change they can make in this space, particularly say on carbon reduction, reduction of their carbon footprint, the bigger part's already done. So now we're at the stage where we have to kind of make the more difficult business decisions, the investments that are going to take a longer time. So the basic things like solar rooftops, energy of solar rooftops.
I heard from the ADB chairman that the government is now taking more initiatives for renewable energy projects in Sri
There is some confusion that's going around in terms of the CEB Act, the Energy Act, and so there is some administrative issues there. So there was an amendment to the Electricity Act, which was going to unbundle electricity that would then allow power wheeling and open access. We feel these are still important elements to be retained within the overall reforms of energy, and a large part of our work now is in terms of getting involved with government to say, understand you're looking at CEB Act and the Energy Act. But in whatever we do, can we make sure that things like open access power wheeling are granted, because that is going to allow companies to secure their long-term energy pricing. It's going to allow for investment into the renewable energy sector, and these are going to be some of the big things that will make that step change.
Mm, yeah. Coming back to the geopolitical dynamics, with this new global economic shifts, um, the challenges that Bangladesh has been facing, your competitors like Bangladesh facing it last year, there was some challenges they faced. Is it gonna help Sri Lanka more with this global economic changes or the challenges faced by competitors? Do you think that the buyer behavior is gonna change and is gonna present more opportunities for Sri Lankan industry?
So I think in the short term, there was a lot of kind of, I think, knee-jerk reactions to kind of secure product. So we're now past that window. But I think it could work to Sri Lanka's advantage. I'm not sure that brands are really going to change their buying behavior significantly. But I think in terms of looking at where they place business, if they were placing, say, X percentage in Bangladesh, they may be looking to say X minus 5%. And then there is that little bit of extra that they would be looking to place in another location. So I think in that respect, we do see some upsides to it. Obviously, because of Bangladesh pricing, because of duty-free access, it's very difficult to compete on price point. So I think there's going to be some movement of product around the world, and there is a so it's not going to be a straightforward, this product was made in Bangladesh, now we're making it in Sri Lanka. I don't think we can get to that point quickly, but there would be room, I think, to grow, and we're certainly seeing a lot of interest in Sri Lanka right now.
As far as the export is concerned, what do you feel are the challenges that your industry faces in these times?
So I think our challenges in terms of, I think if we look at the market access piece and you leave that assume we can sort the market access piece, I think our challenges, I think again, the geopolitical shift, there's a big shift to kind of move more raw material sourcing locally. So I think growing the raw material base in Sri Lanka is going to be a big component of that strategy.
I saw that you have been enhancing the local production, backward linkage production.
It is. So it's something that JAAF identified many years ago as part of our strategy, would be to build that backward supply chain, the verticality in the chain. And we've done that. We have a number of fabric mills, accessories mills, number of organizations who produce raw material that are inputs to the industry. But that needle needs to move further. So right now we're working with the government, particularly on developing a zone for textiles in the northeast of the country. And in the recent government budget, it's very much talking about industry-specific zones. It's talking about creating the right environment to attract investment. And this is where our role with government is to say, let's create a platform that's going to allow the industries further down the value chain, particularly fabric manufacturing, to set up in Sri Lanka.
What are you doing, like JAAF or your member associations, to promote or more investments coming into the textile and garment industry of Sri Lanka? Like, is there some kind of a program that you have?
So this is difficult at the moment because of Sri Lanka going through an IMF program that has certain restrictions in terms of what incentives and facilities can be given. So right now we're at a difficult place in time because of where Sri Lanka is in terms of the history. There's now a very keen eye in terms of looking at what facilities are offered. So I think our role is to work with government authorities within the constraints of what can be done to say, how do we facilitate Sri Lanka to be at the top of that queue for the investment? So right now, if somebody has an option to invest, they have many places they could invest in. And our key is to work with the government to try to come up with a set of incentives, whether that is tax holidays, whether that is deductions, whatever it is, but something that's going to put Sri Lanka at the top of that queue so that we can then encourage that investment. And that investment in a number of instances is existing companies growing and also then attracting new companies to come in. So this is a challenging space at the moment because of the IMF program that the country is under in terms of trying to make sure that we stay within those boundaries. But there are things we're looking at. The Aravo zone is one where because it's been identified as a special development project, there is a certain facilities that are available.
Yeah, but the new BOI, I saw the Board of Investment, they are promoting a textile zone, right?
That's correct. So that's the park in Erebor where we currently have some construction is already beginning. The first investor is already putting stuff down in the ground. So there is, and in that area we can secure certain incentives to allow it to be attractive for investment. And we're seeing investment across. We're seeing new investment coming in a number of areas further around the supply chain, particularly the raw material. We had a company announce I think it was a $35 million investment in a bra cup plant recently.
Oh,
So we have, so there's a lot that's happening in this space in the background because, as you rightly said, with geopolitics the way it is, there is a greater reliance on sourcing locally. It also saves your carbon footprint if you're not moving raw materials halfway across the world.
Right, right. And
access to
that's
market.
going to be the new law.
These are all
Yeah,
these are all things that are going to
Yeah.
feed through into the carbon footprint of that final product.
correct.
So that's an area which we see great potential to do.
Correct, absolutely. We have been working with BOI, with your board of investment, and to promoting this textile zone. We're in talks with them, and you know about our show, right? We have a textile series show over here, the Sri Lankan edition, which we have been doing for 14 years. We were here immediately after the war was over, and we have been working in Sri Lanka for Sri Lanka and promoting the country as ambassadors. I hope, but I thank you. I thank JAAF for being by our side ever since the first step we took into Sri Lanka. JAAF has been by our side. I thank you for that. I thank your associations for that. And we have a small promo about our show. Would you like to take a look?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So yes, guys, it's from the 13th to 15th of March, the Textile series of exhibitions, the 14th Sri Lankan edition. Please do visit the show, and we look forward to welcoming you. Coming back to our discussion about GTEx Phase 2, what is GTEx really about?
So GTEx is a program that is run by the ITC, and it's about improving the sustainability side of factories, of the whole ecosystem. So the project was originally, Sri Lanka was not part of the project. It was a Middle East, North Africa project. But I think in the second phase, we then brought Sri Lanka into the program. And what we're doing is we're working with them on a number of fronts. One is a lot of work is being done in training trainers on circularity, in terms of connecting Sri Lankan companies with companies in Europe who are doing work on recycling, work on material sorting, to see how we can connect with this and basically build that infrastructure, build that network, so that we can then make Sri Lanka move faster in the whole sustainability and the circularity thing. I think the circularity part is particularly important because this is quite challenging, because raw material typically comes from the global south. The garments are made in our countries, end up in the global north. The waste ends up in global north. How are you going to make this circular? This is a massive challenge. But it's been broken down into chunks, and where the GTEx project comes in is kind of helping to build those linkages, helping companies design for circularity. So to design in a way where the product can be broken down, to connect Sri Lankan manufacturers with the processors of waste and raw material in the global north, to try to see how we can develop this ecosystem to be truly circular, where you're going from basically textile back into textile. And I think that's the key, because the linear model is done. That's, I think that's well proven that it's run its course. Right now, we do a lot of work, particularly around, say, plastic to yarn. But it's going beyond that, where we're actually going from fabric back, waste garments back into raw material that can be used for the manufacture. But this is a complex problem. So I think the GTEx program is all about awareness, about technical training, about support, about coordination. There's a lot of facilities in places like Borås University in Sweden, where there's a lot of research being done in this. So it's about connecting our part of the world with that.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's really great. With your reforms, I would say, or with your really pushing forward with your plans and vision to increase the exports, textile and apparel exports from Sri Lanka. What about your workforce? Like, I know you have a lot of universities who are really new skills are coming out of those universities, and you have, I don't know if you have a workforce issue over here. Um,
So I
how
think
would you address that?
so. In the height of the economic crisis, there wasn't, because actually we were finding that people wanted to stay in work, people were wanting work, and the industry continued, so there was no issue. But I think as you grow, this is a challenge. Sri Lanka is a small island. We have limits in terms of manpower, in terms of water, in terms of physical space. So one of the things that we're doing, working with,
I have a good idea. You can bring your guys back from Bangladesh.
well, we are starting to see some of them, not just Bangladesh, but as you know, we export them all over the world. But the challenge is more in terms of the workforce at the ground level. Now, what we're doing here, and this is, I think, where the role of working with government comes in, is to look at areas of the country where you have that land, that workforce that's inactive. Look at what would be needed to set up facilities in those areas. Because I think the model that was run, 30, 40 years ago, where you built industrial zones close to airports and, attracted people to move, that model's history. The model that works now would be to take the work to where the employees are. So what we're doing now, particularly with the government authorities, is looking at the map of the country and saying, okay, where is the workforce? Because
Right.
there is a large
Right.
inactive part of the workforce. Okay,
Absolutely.
where are they located? They're in this area. Okay, if we wanted to set up a factory there, what do we need to do? Right. Then somebody goes and secures the land. Then we work with the industries in terms of the infrastructure. And I think this is the model that it's going to develop
Wonderful model.
forwards.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that becomes sustainable. Even today, our biggest factories are not in the big zones. They're in remote locations out of, where there is a pool of
I think
labor.
that is the right way to go about it. That's a good model you're working on.
And yes, as an industry, we have to offer our employees a package that ensures that they want to come into the industry and stay. So there is a role both on the government to facilitate it. There's a role on us as industry to make sure we provide the right working conditions, we provide the right remunerations, we provide the right work-life balance. All of these things that today's youth are looking for, in terms of roles. So yeah, it's a lot of work. There is, I think, if we did that, we will solve the issue of the manpower, particularly at the shop floor level.
Wonderful. Lastly, what's your vision, your industry's vision, JAAF and your Sri Lanka Apparel Exporters Association? All together, you have 4 or 5 associations under JAAF. What is your vision for future growth?
So this is something we've been looking at. Traditionally, you would look at kind of like an overall export number, but we feel that kind of is a bit skewed in terms of you're looking at the end of the day, right now, we are, as a sector, we're the single largest employment sector. We employ around 350,000 people. We are integral in the fabric of the Sri Lankan economy. So I think our growth is, our vision is to look at how we grow that. How do we become, how do we really support the economy? How do we employ more people? How do we bring in more investment? How do we make Sri Lanka the hub? So I think rather than focusing on saying, well, we're going to get to so many $1 billion by, we're looking now at metrics in terms of how many people we employ, the footprint that we have, the amount of growth that we are creating regionally. So again, when you take factories to locations, you build economies, you build local economies around that. So I think these are the metrics. But I think the goal, what we want to get to, we want to really establish that we are the single biggest employer. We continue to grow that, and we continue to do that in a manner where it is sustainable on all points. So we want access to markets that are going to develop long term. We want to be able to build factories that are sustainable. We want to provide sustainable livelihoods to our employees. So I think it's that bigger vision of really being the hub for the industry.
That's a very good strategy model, whatever you guys are planning ahead. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, Yohan.
You're very welcome, and thank you to SEMS for staying by Sri Lanka, as you said, for the last 14 years. It's
a pleasure.
and we're looking forward to seeing you guys at the show in March.
Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching. You have a wonderful day wherever you are, and we look forward to welcoming you at our next edition. Take care, guys. Have a good. Thanks, Yohan.
No worries.
We're so delighted that the International Yarn and Fabric Show is being hosted in Colombo, Sri Lanka, being a country known as a pioneer in the industry's global value chain for producing high quality ethical garments. Sri Lanka is a preferred sourcing destination, as you may all know, for globally renowned apparel brands due to our commitment to quality, ethical practices, and versatile workforce. Considering the importance of this industry sector, the BOI initiated the establishment of a textile manufacturing zone in Eravur, located in the Batiklo district in the east of the country. This new state-of-the-art zone is a game-changing milestone for Sri Lanka's apparel industry. This area, which is a dedicated area, covers an extent of 225 acres with pre-approved approvals for textile-related activities such as textile dyeing, weaving, washing, knitting, and other associated activities. The main aim of this dedicated textile zone is to foster local production of high-quality textiles designed to retain foreign currency by reducing dependency on imported raw materials through the way of import substitution. This will also enable manufacturers to access raw materials domestically with ample time for sourcing of their products. The infrastructure facilities that are available at the zone is a big impetus for manufacturers that want to come and locate within this space. The zone is fully equipped with sophisticated infrastructure, including road access, water and power supply, sea outfall for efficient, environmentally responsible disposal methods, which includes a designated waste management area to ensure sustainable practices. The zone has also received the environmental impact assessment. Therefore, investors that locate here can commence operations with the prior EIA approvals that have already been obtained. Manufacturers in Sri Lanka have market access to EU countries and the UK through the GSP Plus and the DCTS, which provides them the added advantage of zero duty access to those huge markets.
Welcome to Sri Lanka, where business meets inspiration. Dive in to your most creative self in our oceans, where the ebb and flow of ideas match the rhythm of the waves. Brainstorm by the shores of unspoiled beaches. Culture, views, and traditions infuse creativity into your business strategies. Colombo, the beating heart of Sri Lanka, is a growing regional center for MICE events. This vibrant city skillfully combines the warmth of Sri Lankan hospitality and rich cultural heritage with contemporary convention facilities, a place where ideas take shape, where connections spark collaborations, and where the future of global gatherings is redefined. It's time to bring those insights home and dive into a space where innovation, collaboration, and ideas come to life. A destination where the extraordinary meets the possible. Cited as a must-visit destination by Wanderlust as Travel Magazine's most desirable island, most popular solo travel destination 2025, Asia's leading destination for tourism growth 2025, ranked among BBC's top 10 places to travel 2025, one of the top 10 train journeys in the world 2025. The world is evolving. The way we connect, meet, and inspire is changing. And at the gateway to Asia, a new era of possibilities is unfolding. Sri Lanka isn't waiting. Sri Lanka is ready.